everyone, and welcome to episode 30 of the Salty Sports Show. Steven can't join us here today. However, I have Link, of course, and this is a good episode. Unfortunately, due to just some things to take care of, couldn't do like a proper preview for the NBA playoffs. But we can do one now. Like we can still talk about it and whatnot. So. And let's
Yeah,
let's get right into it. I mean, the play-ins, those were the first thing that happened. We had some really good games in the play-ins.
yeah. The West. I think the ones for the Western Conference are a little bit more competitive.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I
Eastern
think that
Conference.
the Eastern ones were good outside of the Charlotte Atlanta one that the Hawks just ran over the Hornets with.
Yeah,
Um,
because
yeah.
uh, sh- what am I trying to think of? Oh, yeah, because you mentioned Charlotte, Atlanta. That wasn't even close. But man, what a great game between the Timberwolves and Clippers. That was a really good game of basketball.
Yeah, lots of back and forth, and Karl Anthony Towns really didn't do Minnesota any favors. I mean, the Clippers have always game planned around him well this year, and so it was up to Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, and some of those quality role players they have, like Nas Reed, Vanderbilt, Prince, whatnot. I mean, I'm not all of them stepped up to the same degree. I'd have to like relook at the score, but obviously it was the D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards show, and they really took over the game. Um, and Patrick Beverly as well, his crazy celebrations. That was exciting, and the Clippers probably had some of the worst luck befall them after Paul George was out for the next playing game with COVID, and the Pelicans took care of the Spurs. Not a game that Dejounte Murray and would like to remember, and the Pelicans they went on to play the Clippers without Paul George, and the Clippers gave it a valiant effort, but without their star, well, one of their two, but the other Kawhi has been out the whole year. Without the star man that's been on the team this season, even though he's missed some games, they just couldn't beat New Orleans, who, to be fair, was missing
Yeah,
Zion, but still,
yeah,
that's
but
not new
they
for
just
them
kind of.
either.
And it's pretty unusual. They just kind of looks like they, let off the gas going into the fourth quarter. It just gave
Yeah,
New Orleans the game by the end of it.
yeah. As for the East, Cleveland was involved in both of the really good games. I mean, the Nets really jumped out to a lead against them, but they clawed back into the game, but they just couldn't quite get on top of Brooklyn, and the Nets won, and they got off to a really fast start against the Hawks, but Trey Young just turned it on in the second half, and Trey Young is when he turns it on, I mean, he is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Of course, I guess if we talk about the playoffs themselves, he wasn't for the Heat at all in Game One. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, but I mean, we've had some really good series, and I would say that the maybe how am I'm trying to use my head correctly here because I'm trying to think of the other really good series. Okay, because I would say as of right now, I would say maybe the two most interesting series on my book are the two v seven uh series between Brooklyn and Boston, who I think are the two best teams in the East, and Minnesota and Memphis, who are probably the two young up and comers in the West.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Um,
say what you want to say. If you, I can let you, talk about the Grizzlies Timberwolves game. Even though I was watching that too, I've become very fond of the Wolves this year. But go ahead.
yeah, you've got. I noticed. Yeah, I made fun of you for it too because you've been tweeting about the Timberwolves on that because they're a backup plan because the Bulls may not make it out of the first round.
Yup.
Yeah, but the Grizzlies they got John Morant back for the season. Also, it was announced that he's going to be signing. He will be re-signing with Memphis. Kind of
That's
expected, but
Yeah.
No, there's little doubt in that. Um, biggest part of the Grizz, I mean, the biggest contribute to Grizzlies' victories are reboundings. Like they are one of the best rebounding teams in basketball. Very good defensively. This did not happen. Unfortunately, the Timberwolves just out rebounded us. I think it was about by 10 rebounds, and they've also shot very well
Yeah.
from the field. I mean, they were really good. Towns. Yeah, I think he made it. I mean, he did make up for the lackluster playing game performance.
Yeah,
When we
but
turned it on, I think he got about 20. I think he had 30 points.
yeah, but the star of the
Very good.
show, the star of the show was Edwards again.
Oh yeah. Um. What was I about to say? Shit, I
That
forgot.
it was interesting because Minnesota was dominant early, but Memphis really kind of came onto their own in the second quarter and kept the game fairly close for a while.
Yeah.
But the Wolves pulled away. But it was kind of interesting. I noticed, and this isn't like a slight or anything, but like the Grizzlies, like seems like they played their best ball when they didn't have their star players in. It's really weird.
I mean, yeah, kind of because I think Morant he had like the most turnovers out of any Grizzlies player in the game. I mean, there were like some pretty bad turnovers. Like he was trying, he relies. I think he relies heavily on too much of trying to drive in the paint against two or three guys already in there and just completely gets stuffed and loses the ball. Then it goes
Yeah,
the other way.
yeah. But
And
I think there were things the Grizzlies looked well. I really liked Bane and Brooks their performances.
yeah, Bane, like especially when Morant was out, Bane really like that, or both of them, I should say. They really like stepped up and kept the Grizzlies alive and not having to fall to the 3 seed.
Yeah,
Even then, I think our bench in general has been playing really well.
I noticed too that like it seems like for whatever reason when they attack Patrick Williams, it's a lot smoother. Like they seem to have more success too compared to Morant.
Yeah,
Not Patrick Will, Patrick Beverly, but yeah. I mean that was a fun game. I think that Grizzlies Timberwolves. I was saying it. I not here, but I was saying I feel like that's a 7 game series. Um, and speaking of 7 game series, probably the best game of the postseason to start. We were talking about Brooklyn and Boston, and that was a battle of maybe, the star-studded team of the Nets. With Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving in particular played very well. Um, and as for Kevin Durant, not his best effort, and kind of missed a shot that could have really helped him there. But Jason Tatum, he was the big man. He was the man of the hour. He had a great game and finished it off with a driving to the paint, getting a layup, and beating the buzzer. And the Celtics won like an exciting affair. Um, and then came right after that game, the game of my misery. the
the
Bulls
Bulls
and the
game.
yeah, the Bulls and the Bucks, and it was really ugly. The fact that we
Yeah,
were in that game, we like neither team deserved to win in my opinion. The Bucks were just I don't know what their scheming was pretty bad and they got a lot of calls their way. I mean, Giannis should have fouled out at the
yeah,
end of the game. He was basically like riding Patrick Williams, and Williams got fouled. Well, no, Williams was called as the foul. He was fouled in my opinion. Giannis should have been thrown out, and that could be a different game there. But the ref refused to obviously call Giannis out of the game, and
especially that one call you were showing me on.
that was the one I was
But
showing you.
yeah,
Yeah,
when Williams got fouled there, or was the one who drew the foul, I guthat
yeah, and that was frustrating. But the Bulls, they should have shot better. Vucevic, inefficient night, had a horrid start, got better as the game went on. DeMar DeRozan went and looked like playoff DeFrozen. He was not good at all, to be completely frank. Zach LaVine had a rough start. He warmed up, he got hot, he got better, but I mean, we should have shot much better, and the Bucks should. I mean, the Bucks should really be questioning themselves how they. I, I don't know how they were able to play so bad that it felt like they escaped us. I mean, we should have not been in that game.
Yeah.
Hopefully, this means
I,
if we actually do shoot better, we can stay in it though.
yeah. You know what? I also expect like this to be a very. It may go to 4 games, may go to 5, but I do expect this game, just like the first game one, just to be as physical. Because I mean, these two teams, they're, they've had beef. I know there was an incident in January, which we don't want to talk about here. No, you
Yeah,
don't want to talk about it. Um, I mean, it just kind of carries over to the playoffs. I mean, I think there were 40 combined fouls between these teams.
yeah, something like
It's
that. It was
insane.
insane. Yeah,
Uh,
lots of bad blood and just not what you like to see. For I'd say either team, it's not really an encouraging result. More so for the Bulls' chances of just advancing or even winning a game in this series, and for the Bucks looking at after, because I don't have any belief this team is gonna go anywhere. Um,
mm.
as for
You want to talk about let's, there's one series that's kind of already getting out of hand. If you want to go ahead, and Denver, Golden State, it's just these first teams have not been close. I mean,
Yeah,
at all.
Denver's stayed alive in the first half of these games, and then Jordan Poole, man, he just goes off, and Golden State's really been burying the Nuggets, who, I think the Nuggets, they have their quality. I mean, Nikola Jokic, he's an awesome player. He's the best player in the world, but his two main supports, historically or recently historically, Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. Neither are available, and he has some good teammates like Gordon, Bones Highland, but nowhere near the level to keep them alive in a series against a team with as much quality as Golden State has, with Curry, Poole, Draymond, and Klay Thompson,
Wiggins.
Wiggins as well, um, and some other good pieces, Kugaminga. Otto Porter Jr. is quietly pretty solid, I would say, especially coming off the bench. Um, they don't have enough to keep up with the firepower in Golden State.
Uh, uh, another series that's been going to 2-0. Sixers Raptors. They just wrapped up tonight's game. I got to watch. Got to watch kind of a little bit before I had to leave. But I mean, the Sixers.
I wasn't able to watch either game, but from what I could tell, the Sixers have just run through them.
Yeah.
And from what I can tell, the Raptors have also gotten hurt a lot. Like, I think Scotty Barnes was knocked out, Gary Trent Jr. as well.
I think so. Yeah, because he didn't. I think. Yeah, he didn't play a lot in tonight's game.
Yeah, just I'd say it's a bit of a how do I say this? I'd say it's a bit of a it's there's like history between the Sixers and the Raptors, but it's just not the same as it used to be. And
Oh
the
yeah.
Raptors are they're in the first year of their new core, almost you could say, and the Sixers are a team like in the prime of their contention window. I mean, like you don't. Yeah, I mean, like they're content. It's really the show, and between like Harden and Embiid and Tyrese Maxey played very well in the first game, and I mean, the expectation for Philly is this is a team that you should run through, and that's what they've done. Um,
Yeah.
of course, we talked about the 1v8 a bit. The Heat just took care of the Hawks pretty comfortably. Um, back in the West, the Suns also comfortably won against the Pelicans. A team that probably shouldn't be here, if we're being honest. I don't like the play-in. I understand the drama it creates, but I just don't think it should be there in full seasons.
Yeah, I mean, like he said, the Pelicans kind of capitalized off a key injury for the Clippers, and just kind of backed into it.
Yeah, and just as for the you know, as for the other matchup we haven't talked about out west. Well, the Mavericks have been playing without Luka Doncic, and it it feels like a dire situation. They lost game one without him in a close one. If you're the Jazz going into the second one, you feel good, but Maxi Kleber, he went on fire, and Jalen Brunson had an excellent game, a Luka, in his own way to fit his own skill set, but like a Luka Doncic kind of stat line type masterclass. And
Yeah,
the Mavs just absolutely stole one, even though it's at home. They stole one against the Jazz, and they have a 1-all split, and they could definitely go in and take care. If Luka comes back, they could be a wrap, and they can take care of Utah. I mean, the Mavs have been on fire since the new year, maybe even a little earlier. And I mean, the roster personnel. I mean, there's more to be desired. You absolutely want to get Luka like a second star, but those role players are really good at playing their roles.
yeah. Who was it? It was Kleber, right? Yeah, he went 3 for 11 on 3 points. Just really good performance from him.
Wait, did you say 3 for 11?
No, 8 for 11.
Okay, eight for. I was looking. Okay, he missed three
Oh
out of
yeah. Oh
11.
yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yes, very good performance from him.
yeah,
Uh,
just hitting that three ball. He's an excellent defender as well.
yeah.
But
Um,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I can see like Dallas, Utah being like. I think it's already turned into like the low key, entertaining series, the most low key entertaining series of the entire playoff right now. Because I mean, yeah, there's a couple of like big time matchups right now that, of course, like you said, Brooklyn and Boston. We talk about Timberwolves, Grizzlies. Um, yeah, this one's just I feel like it's flying under the radar.
Yeah. Um. I would say so, and I think for the I think that I'd agree. However, there is one thing I could say. Luka Doncic comes back in the series soon, and these first two games have been close and really good. But you add a player as good as Luka back in the fold for the Mavs, they could gentlemen sweep this series.
Yeah, it
Uh,
might.
it just depends on Luka being healthy in the end. If he doesn't come back for Game 3, we have a much more interesting series on the mark. But those role players have been stepping up for them.
Yeah,
But even though it's kind of late, who are we kind of liking so far? Coming out of each series, and would this change your? Has your opinion changed of it from before? I guess you want to start with the West, with the Suns and the Pelicans.
yeah. I mean, I just don't really. I'm sorry. I just don't think the Pelicans have a fighting chance. The Suns team is just once again just extremely good.
Yeah, I would have said any opponent except for a Clippers team that had both Kawhi and Paul George going. I'd feel really comfortable picking the Suns, and I probably would have said a sweep. That could happen. I don't know. We'll see. Mavs Jazz. We kind of just talked about it, but just to get back into it, I think if Luka comes back next game and he's at least 90%, I think they could gentlemen sweep the Jazz. If not, then we're in for a much more interesting series. I guess. What are you kind of
Yeah.
thinking?
Uh I also kind of agree. I mean, I also kind of agree that Luca coming in, if he does, when he does. I don't has I haven't seen it. Have you? Is he a game time decision, or is he still like just straight up out for game 3?
He's probably going to be a game time decision. He was for this game, and then he was kind of confirmed out the day of for game one before game time was even approaching.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. It's just like kind of hard for me to say because I do like both of these teams. Um, this could easily go to 7 games if it wants to. But I think I'm gonna give the edge to the Mavericks because of Luka Doncic. I mean, Luka just being that impact player, if you will.
Yeah. As for the next one, the Wolves and the Grizzlies. I said earlier it's a 7 game series. I probably would have said Grizzlies in 7 going into this. I kind of feel like it might be Wolves in 7 now, but I don't know. It can go either way. I guess kind of what are you feeling here?
Um, definitely think the big. I think the biggest like issue with game one is just like the Grizzlies, especially. I mean, they have home court advantage, right? It just doesn't feel like it. The crowd just, probably because you couldn't hear them half the game because ESPN's
Yeah,
tomfoolery in game one, but like just didn't feel like a lot of the fans got into it. In Minnesota, especially after that playing game, I mean, did you see how just absolute bonkers they went during
yeah.
that entire game? Like games 3 and 4 are going to be very, very, very hard to win for the Grizzlies, in my
They
opinion.
have to steal one of those two if they want to have
Like
a
they're gonna
chance.
have exactly, yeah, I agree. And they gotta, you know, go ahead and get into game 2. I mean, it's hard for me to say because I mean, like I said, this is a very good Grizzlies team, very young, very good defensively, but it's just, yeah, I do think this is going to 7. I do think the Grizzlies. I have them giving like an edge in game 7.
Yeah, fair enough. It's just really so it's all about the game two. I mean, I think that if Minnesota wins game two, I mean they should be able to close it out quicker than we expected. But I think games 3 and 4 are going to ultimately be the deciders. Um,
Yeah,
regardless of the outcome. Because if Memphis can win on the road, then that's a good thing, regardless of Game Two's result. Obviously, though, I think that Memphis will win Game Two, so I'm kind of going instinctively off that. Um, it's just a matter of it's just really I think if it can get to that Game Seven, I don't know, but yeah, I like you said, it's a close series. Two teams that are very different. The Grizzlies are much deeper on the bench, but outside of John Morant, the star power I would say in Minnesota, Towns, Edwards, D'Angelo Russell. I would say that's the stronger thing, but it's not like either team is slouching on the department that the other team excels in more. I mean, I would say like Jaron Jackson Jr., of course, Desmond Bain, and then of course for the Wolves, Prince, Naz Reid, and some others. There's just it's an exciting matchup, and I like that these two are going against each other. Um, and then as for the last series, Denver against Golden State. I feel like Golden State's probably going to sweep this series. I would have gone into it saying that they would have probably Denver could have pushed them to 6 or 7 games. But yeah, I think Golden State in 4 at this point.
yeah, I think Golden State wins in 4. It's either going to be 4 or 5. I think Luca may have a very star-studded performance one night and steal a win from him.
Yeah,
But I mean, every other night the Warriors are going to win.
yeah. And then as for the East, Miami against Atlanta. Really bad performance for Trey Young in the first game that I don't think gets repeated. And I was kind of saying before, and I'll say again, I think Miami will probably win it in like 5 or 6 games. I don't think they'll sweep it though.
Yeah, I'll give it 5. I mean, Clint Capella being out for the Hawks. I mean, that's a pretty big blow there. That he's their top
That was a
rebounder.
really crazy play that he got hurt on because he was trying to injure Evan Mobley and it got him instead. he was
Yeah,
grabbing him.
it really was weird. I think Lou Williams also out
Yeah,
for the next game. You know, I also kind of, I mean, not trying to say these two are like equal or anything, but I also think this may turn out as similar as I think the Denver Warriors game. I think Trey Young's just going to ball out for maybe game three, and then but every other night, I think the Heat are going to win.
fair enough. Yeah, it's 5 or 6, and then as for the next series, Boston Brooklyn. I think this is the Eastern Conference Final way too early here.
Yes,
Um,
I definitely agree with that.
I'm gonna say Boston in 7.
You say Boston 7.
Yeah,
It's kind of hard for me to say because I like, I could easily see both these teams representing the Eastern Conference in the finals.
yeah, exactly. Like if they were on the opposite ends of the bracket, I think they'd be on a collision course with each other.
Yeah,
Mm,
and yeah, Brooklyn is Ben Simmons. I think is out for game 3 or game 2.
yeah.
And I think I don't know how long. How long is he out for?
They're gonna start seeing if he can come back in for game 3, but we're not sure.
Yeah. Uh it's really hard because like damn, I mean Brooklyn's just they got so many really good players on that team.
And Boston does too, and I think that as a team
Boston
with the
is too.
coaching level and everything, they function just so well.
And yeah, you can kind of see it in that last play.
Yeah.
I mean, with how they defended on that last that the buzzer beater. It's just looked dysfunctional. And
Speaking of which,
with teams just as like equally competitive they are, it does come down to those moments.
congratulations to Marcus Smart on winning Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know how. Look,
um,
I like him a lot, but how does Rudy Gobert not win it? I don't know.
I can tell you.
Uh,
Um, I'm dude. This is honestly a tough one. It really is. Um,
What's your gut feeling here?
my gut feeling has Boston in 6.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean,
Yeah,
we're both in agreement that this is Boston's. It's just how
yeah.
many. But
I
yeah,
mean,
Brooklyn to me, if they really go out here in round one, there's this. I mean, people are gonna. I feel like people are gonna over dramatize their inability to make the conference final, despite the fact that they're probably the team that was second best to whoever they lose to last year, Milwaukee. This year, Boston. It's just that they got those matchups earlier than due, and a lot of it because they were hurt throughout the year. Um, I think next. Um, we have the 3 versus 6, the mashups that I hate. We can just agree Bucks and 4, right?
yeah.
Fair enough.
If your Bulls, if you're telling me Bucks in 4, then I'm probably going to agree with you
Maybe we
because
can
I mean,
steal.
you know more about these Bulls than I do. I
Maybe
know
we can steal one. I don't know.
maybe.
Um, and then the 4v5 series, Philly and Toronto. I would have said that Toronto because they have the coaching advantage could have made this a 6 game series, but I'm feeling like Sixers in 4 or 5.
Yeah, I mean they've won the first 2 games with, I mean like with I think pretty good gaps.
Yeah. All right. And as for the if you had to pick 2 teams to go to the finals, who would you take? I would go Suns and Celtics.
Suns Celtics. Now that I kind of agree. I also I think it's Suns Celtics or it's Celtics versus Warriors.
Yeah, I can agree. I think that there are threats to these teams in the conferences. I think the Warriors could threaten Phoenix, and I think the why am I blanking? The Nets, who they're obviously playing right now, can threaten the Celtics. But outside of those teams, I just don't see I don't see it. Maybe if Brooklyn beats Boston, then I could see maybe Brooklyn being vulnerable if they play a team like Milwaukee. But but if Boston takes care of Brooklyn, I don't see Boston being beaten.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, the other like team. I mean, I guess Grizzlies. I think just the fact that they're gonna have to play a 7 game series. And I think they're just gonna run out of steam by the time they get to the conference finals. Honestly, the Timberwolves. I mean, they do have a lot of momentum on their side with their play-in victory and just like a game 1 win. But I mean, I think that might catch up with them as well
I
going
think
into
with the Wolves, it's just really if it's the Warriors, it's game over. That's just how I kind of see it.
yeah,
I think the Grizzlies should be more competitive against the Warriors because of how deep they are, unless relying on the stars. Now, obviously, the Wolves aren't as thin as the Nuggets are, but still, um, I think I couldn't see Minnesota take. I can't see Minnesota pushing Golden State to 7, maybe not even 6. And with the Grizzlies, I'm not sure if they'd push it to 7, but it's in the realm of possibility to me.
yeah,
Um, but all right, yeah, this is pretty interesting. And then you know, now that we've kind of finished, talking about what's happened so far in the NBA playoffs, we have some catching up to do.
yeah.
We
We got
haven't
a
really
lot of
talked about football a lot, so I guess we should open this up with the big changes that happened in the Buccaneers organization. Um, I feel like this is
yeah,
way overdue. This is absolutely way overdue, but we haven't really had time to discuss football this off season so much. So Tom Brady came out of his retirement, and Bruce Arians is out as the head coach of the Buccaneers. In comes Todd Bowles, who gets his second chance, and that also gives offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich a lot more control. And I think maybe that possible looming retirement of Arians is why maybe he pushed away the Jacksonville job unless Balky really was fired, which fair enough. You have a chance to continue coaching the GOAT, and your stock is going to stay high for future prospects, anyways. Um, and I think good for the Bucks, and obviously there were some consequences to that. Even though we'll also talk about there was a certain team that you could say it did affect in some ways, um,
yeah,
which would be the Bengals, as they had a couple targets off that Buccaneers offensive line. As we talked about before, they got Shaq Mason to replace Marpet, but they lost Kappa to Cincy, and we'll talk more about their offensive line remodeling in a bit. But they were able to, I believe, keep their center Ryan Jensen. Um, and as for the Buccaneers, they also obviously we talked about before they extended Godwin, so we have a lot of they're gonna have a lot of their players back. Not everyone will be there. They'll use the draft to fill some holes. They lost Jordan Whitehead as well, but they're gonna reload and they're gonna be strong. Maybe not quite the superpower that they were when they won the Super Bowl in the postseason, or as they were until the injuries piled up last year, but certainly a force that is more than capable of winning it all.
yeah. I mean, the only thing that was stop them last year, I mean, was really, I mean, a miracle play.
Just a lot of
And
injuries too. I
yeah,
mean, they had to release Antonio Brown. They were missing Godwin and Tristan Wirfs, and it took the Rams a game-winning field goal, the Super Bowl champion Rams, a game-winning field goal to knock them out. Um, I mean, the Rams really shouldn't have gotten to that point. They were in control for so long, and they just let Tampa back in. But Jalen Ramsey is certainly thrilled that Tom Brady unretired, and that last touchdown isn't on him. As a matter of fact, the ball sold for a lot of money in an auction hours before he unretired. Um,
Yeah, the whole like the Brady retirement angle has just been really weird.
yeah. Honestly, as a football fan, I'm glad to see him back for another year. As a fan of an NFC team that's ambitious, fuck.
Well, that's what you know. That's what happens when you have Tom Brady in your conference.
Speaking of, I guess the Cowboys, we traded away Amari Cooper, and I want to cry. And at least they didn't release him for nothing, and he's still on his nice contract, so good for him. Uh,
What? Remind me. What was that for? What they trade him for?
do you really want me to say it? It makes it worse.
I'm sorry, completely forgot.
Day three draft picks.
Oh, okay.
Um, Traded
Well,
him
I mean
for.
that is a big because I know I'm pretty sure it's a big contract. So I mean that was probably
There's something funny I'm going to bring up about that in a second because there was a team that refused to outbid Cleveland because they didn't want to take on his full contract and then sign maybe the worst contract of the offseason at the same position. Um, but the Browns, they get Amari Cooper, they get their number one receiver, but they want a quarterback for him because they're clearly not happy with Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's not happy with them anymore, and it seems like that's going to end in a divorce soon. They're separated, but the Baker Mayfield is no longer a Cleveland Brown thing is still yet to happen. We're going to see what's holding them up, whether it's a looming suspension for this player or just getting an offer that they want on Baker. But Deshaun Watson, with all the controversy, and when it looked inevitable that he was NFC southbound, the competition was between New Orleans and Atlanta. At first, I was thinking, okay, it's going to be New Orleans, and then as time went on, all the connections were revealed. I was thinking, oh my God, it's Atlanta's really going to pull it off, aren't they? Uh, Atlanta indeed did not pull it off. The Browns just decided to offer Deshaun Watson just every little bit of thing is money. Just give him all the money and make it that he can still get paid if he gets suspended. And now the Browns they have shored up a couple of their biggest weaknesses. Amari Cooper, now their number one receiver, who I would say, even if you include when he was there, that's an upgrade over Odell Beckham Jr. And Deshaun Watson, I mean, fuck Deshaun Watson, but that's a hell of a quarterback they got there in Cleveland. Um,
yeah. And it
and
feels like that was like the only piece they were missing from becoming a super force to be reckoned with in the AFC.
yeah, and I think if Deshaun Watson plays football next year and he stays on the field, he will probably lead the Browns on top of their division. And I think with them they're gonna get a weaker schedule than their division rivals. They're gonna get a weaker schedule than the top dogs in the other divisions because they have to play each other. I can genuinely see the Browns have the AFC's top seed at the end of the year. That being said, I think Baltimore technically will get a lighter one than they will, so that could also play against them if the Ravens are really good. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think the Browns they are a scary team to look out for next year. Um, Feels like every time, man, feels like the Browns hit a wall every offseason after like a bad year. It feels like they hit a wall and then they do something to get dramatically better, whether it was revamping their O line going into 2020 or getting a new quarterback going into this year. And as a consequence, as we talked about, it seemed like the Matt Ryan era in Atlanta was going to end regardless. They signed Marcus Mariota, a quarterback you're familiar with, to be kind of their bridge guy. Maybe as they run a tank through, try to get the first pick, and they send Matt Ryan off to Indianapolis.
yeah, and I was kind of talking about that last time we talked about football. Just like the Colts are, kind of once again just band-aiding the quarterback situation they have.
Yeah. However, I feel like this is genuinely like Matt Ryan
It,
isn't as good as he was.
I think it's definitely better than what they had.
It's better
Definitely.
than Carson Wentz by a lot. And
And you know what? Philip Rivers' unexpected retirement did kind of kill them
yeah, Rivers retired a
last year.
year in advance that he people thought he would retire.
And
So
yeah, that kind of screwed them. And I've always said this about the Colts. They do have the pieces there. You just need someone like you need someone like Matt Ryan, who's yeah. I mean, last year he did make a lot of mistakes, but I mean, just
he
kind of the
he
stay
dr-
back.
he dragged the Falcons to more wins than that roster had any right to get.
That is true. They got 7 wins out of like a team that was projected to win about 3 or 4. So
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, just the end of an era in Atlanta who they're going for the clean slate. Is this a year later than I would have said? Yeah, I was kind of saying this back then, but I really thought they should have drafted Justin Fields. But with the way the offense is looking, yeah, maybe they could suck this year. Have Kyle Pitts there, get maybe, and then maybe rejuvenated a bit before getting that franchise quarterback. Because if you think the help he has in Chicago would be bad right now, Atlanta might be worse off. It might be. I don't know for sure. I mean, Pitts and Patterson is definitely better than Mooney, but like you look at them, the drop off. Oh, uh, that's not good. Um, but you know, if he was drafted to Atlanta, though, he would not have Pitts. So yeah, it'd actually be worse than Chicago. um, but anyways, kind of, moving on. Von Miller, he was a free agent. Lots of, I guess, before we talk about Von Miller, let's talk about Randy Gregory because Dallas was a player in the Von Miller stuff. So Randy Gregory, we thought he signed with Dallas. He did not. Seemed like they had a breakdown in negotiations. Mainly due to some contract clauses that apparently it's standard language for the Cowboys to throw into contracts. Don't know why Gregory didn't want that. And because of it, he bolted for Denver. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, he's a Bronco now, and I'm sad. And because of that, Dallas, for a bit, it looked like they would chase Von Miller, and there were a lot of rumors prior to Gregory signing. There were whispers of maybe he'll go back to the Broncos before the Khalil Mack trade. People were wondering maybe he stays in LA, plays with the Chargers. The Rams were interested in bringing him back, and the Bills, however, were the ultimate winners of the sweepstakes, and they got Von Miller, and good for them.
yeah. But I mean, hell, I'm looking at this contract for Von Miller. I mean, I mean, Jesus. I mean, Matt. I mean, this is a massive contract for a guy. I mean, he's in his 30s,
Yeah,
and I think the contract expires when he's 39. I mean, that's 6 years, 120 million dollars. I'm pretty sure all that's guaranteed too.
yeah. I think there's a
Like,
there's a way out, like 3 or 4 years in the contract that isn't going to cost them much. So that could be fine for them.
I mean, that's just like I said, still kind of insane money to give to him. But
Yeah,
at this point, Buffalo right now, I mean, they're just kind of gotta do what they can to continue to build up their brand and try to get to a Super Bowl for the first time since the '90s. So I mean,
yeah,
it's a whatever move right now, but it may end up biting them in the ass later.
yeah.
Um, what's the
Um,
next?
well,
You would stay in the AFC East.
I was actually going to.
Oh
You know what? Well, let's talk some Florida ball, and we'll start with the AFC East Florida ball.
yeah,
Um, The Miami Dolphins. So from what I could tell, the Chiefs and Tyreek Hill failed on a negotiation for an extension, and they put him on the market. And seems like the Jets were in a position to get him, add some help for Zach Wilson, but Miami swooped in and got a deal done to make him a Dolphin. Um, Tyreek, buddy, I get that Miami is probably better than New York, but are you sure you want Tua throwing the ball to you?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, you could. I mean, it's hard. I mean, Zach Wilson. I mean, he did have a. I know he picked up the pace when really the Jets season was over with, but I mean, kind of too bad. I mean, not really two good situations there. I guess the weather's nicer in Miami, and you know what? I mean, that's all right. And right now, the Dolphins are just doing whatever they can to continue to try to be a 9-win playoff team. But as we will continue to discuss later, a 9-win team is sure as hell not making the playoffs in the AFC with the way are shaking things up in the West, in the North. Oh,
Yeah,
kind of in the South with Indianapolis making a move for Matt Ryan. I mean,
yeah. It's like I said, the AFC, it's stacking the field, but I don't know. The Dolphins do have an interesting angle, though, to me. Everyone talks about there was a draft day trade, so I'll talk about it quickly because it relates to it. The Saints and the Eagles made a trade uh, that basically um, the Saints now have two first round picks. They moved back one from their original pick, and then the Saints traded their pick for next year to get one of the picks the Eagles had at 16. Um, so now the Saints have two first. The Eagles have instead of three, they have two, but they have one next year. Everyone talks about how if the Eagles don't like Jalen Hurts next season, they have a chance to move on with their ability to move up. No one talks about how because now they have the even though those picks seem less favorable, the Dolphins' own pick and the Niners' pick, mainly because the Niners are just really good. The Dolphins are also in position to move up and select a new quarterback if they just do not like Tua next season.
yeah, but I mean, I still think they're just like trying to make something out of him.
Yeah, this is the last chance. McDaniel's gonna give him a chance for this year, and if it doesn't work, he'll be able to draft his own guy. Um, of course, he'll be able to draft his own guy, probably with a new general manager. But yeah, uh, but now we'll talk some other Florida ball and the Jaguars. We kind of alluded it to earlier, but they handed out the worst contract of the offseason to Christian Kirk. They refused to take on the entire Amari Cooper contract from Dallas, which is cheaper, by the way. Cheaper. Um, for like an established star,
Yeah.
and they paid Christian Kirk that. Like, what are they doing? Um, they gave out some other deals. They paid Zay Jones. They brought back Laquan Treadwell. Great receiving options, Jacksonville. Well done. Uh, way to support your franchise quarterback. They tagged Cam Robinson. They signed Brandon Scherf. They feel weird. I don't know what to think about them. I mean, like, I like Doug Peterson a lot, so I can't see them going back to picking number one overall. But my God, does Trent Baalke make that roster look as bad as he can?
Yeah, it's just oh my god, and it doesn't. I mean, I don't think it's gonna end here because I think Shad Khan just does not give a shit about the Jaguars and being successful.
Yeah,
Speaking, I mean,
it's really they're
I mean,
gonna.
I'm not even like speaking out of the mind of like, oh, hated division rival. Or I mean, it's just like, what the hell, man?
They can really go as far as Doug Peterson develops Trevor Lawrence, which I have good faith he can. I really like Doug Peterson, but that roster ain't nice. Um,
I mean, Khan has been he's been I think the owner for the Jaguars for about a decade now. They've had one playoff appearance, one playoff run with Blake Bortles and a good defense that was good for about 1 year, and then everything went to shit. Just doesn't make sense. But anyway, on to what were you about to say? Or
I mean, yeah, that's the Jaguars spending spree. Good luck, Trent Baalke. He might overthink the draft now. Uh, but
I think
who knows?
I guess I kind of want to stick with the AFC South. Tennessee made some moves and potentially may completely botch this situation currently as we speak. Julio Jones was released. He didn't get to play a lot last year because of injury. Basically, I mean, we did bring him as a veteran number 2.
Yeah,
And now we signed Robert Woods, which is basically going to fill out that exact same.
roll.
Yeah, exactly. I think Woods was a little. I think I forgot how much we signed him for.
No, he was traded for.
Or yeah, right. He was traded for.
It was a
Can you remind me?
six round pick.
A 6th-rounder. Okay, yeah, that's what we got Julio for.
I think
So
Julio was the second.
was it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh God, you're right.
I'm sorry. I don't think you wanted to remember that.
Oh yeah. It's been a while, but I'm kind of trying not to remember what's going on right now. Speaking of Tennessee wide receivers, as apparently AJ Brown, the Titans are not really reaching a deal on extension, which is not good considering Salt. I told you this. You probably agree with me. I mean, AJ Brown's like if anyone had that roster, he's like the number one untouchable guy on that offense.
He's like, yeah, I'd agree. He's the most valuable.
I'd say on the team.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
that
maybe not on the
Jeffrey
team.
Simmons guy is pretty good. Can't lie.
Yeah. I mean, there's, and then Byard, but
Yeah.
I mean,
but we're talking about his age and everything. Then yeah, like and the position he plays.
Yeah, but I mean, he is still like bringing up good Pro Bowl numbers or Pro Bowl appearance.
And this is
Whatnot.
actually a common theme right now. There's 4 holdouts. These are, I think, maybe it's just 3, but there's a group of really talented receivers looking for new contracts. AJ Brown, of course, being one of the headliners. The other being Debo Samuel, who's looking for reported 25 million a year. Of course, a large part because the wide receiver market took a big jump. Also looking for new contracts is Terry McLaurin and DK Metcalf. Deontay Johnson is also up for a new deal. However, he's not really been talked about at all, so it doesn't seem like there's any smoke around what his future at the current moment.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just like I said, I'm just not really happy about the Brown situation because he just got way too much talent to just be given away in his first 3 years.
Yeah, and hell, I mean, he's still 24. He's young. He's still very young. He's still young enough to, you can give him a 5-year deal and he'll still be really young. It's not like a situation where, I mean, like, I think the team should extend him anyways, but Terry McLaurin's already 26 years old and Debo Samuel's also already 26 years old. I mean,
Especially now with the Titans, right? I mean, you got Tannehill who doesn't even know. I mean, he's one of his main problems, especially down the stretch when everyone was injured, he just didn't have anyone to throw the ball to. Now you're gonna get rid of his number one target. Actually, I mean, probably the only target that was a big, reliability on almost every play. I mean, are we really gonna let him go to the Jets?
well, he actually finally left. There was a tweet saying, "You're a Jet, AJ Brown." And he liked a tweet that said he's not thinking about the
Oh yeah,
Jets or
the
something.
connections are there because Elijah Moore was his teammate in
Yeah,
college. And he
but
really likes Elijah Moore.
there was like a tweet. Let me find it. It's on Twitter.
It's
So
really funny though. I
AJ
mean,
Brown liked to tweet, "If it's not mutual, I don't want it. The Jets want you, I promise." Then AJ Brown liked to reply saying he does.
oh I don't know. That's kind of weird though. If you told me like back in 2020 that Corey Davis and AJ Brown in 2022 would both be Jets, I'd probably laugh at you. Um,
Yeah.
More on the AJ Brown part, not on the Corey Davis. But anyway, that's enough Titan banter. What else?
Um.
There's a lot. There's
Well,
still
I
a
guess
lot.
we could still talk about the other, but like I said, there's also contract negotiations going on with Debo Samuel, who also the Jets are linked with. His sum, like I said, 25 million. Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, obviously McLaurin and Debo are both surprisingly a couple years older than those two, and obviously with age is always a surprisingly bigger effect than people will say. Um, but of course, there's also we're looking outside that receiver market. We talked about Tyreek, talked about Kirk Screen. Oh, the big wide receiver Devonte Adams. He has been traded and his to the Raiders for a first and a second. He's extended with them, and his college quarterback and now Raiders quarterback Derek Carr has also been extended. So the Raiders are embracing the arms race of the AFC West. They're going all in. They want to win. Um, to
Yeah.
me, I respect the move. Get it reuniting those two, trying to get the best out that you can with the Raiders. But am I a little crazy for feeling that maybe they should have blown the team up?
I mean,
You look at the state of the West. I just think I just don't. I love Derek Carr, but I don't know if he's gonna win you cut it in a division with Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, and Justin Herbert.
I mean, yeah, it does look like that, and I mean, this was definitely a move. I mean, they're just trying to uh
They're gonna they're
find a
they're
what?
trying to win. That's for sure.
Yeah, and you know what? They're trying to find the replacement for Henry Ruggs, of course,
Yeah,
on the wide receiver room.
not just
I
a
mean, they did.
replacement, just an
Did say,
upgrade.
I mean, you can't say they didn't get a hell of a receiver. And I guarantee and ownership, especially as a team that's still finding its foot in Vegas, they're still trying to be competitive enough to endear themselves to the locals. I get the move, just completely get. I mean, it just happens to fall into a complete arms race in the AFC West.
Yeah,
I mean, this is definitely probably a big. This is probably a move made just to like keep the fans at ease going into the season. Say the entire AFC West is like, oh man, everyone's going to sign everyone, and people are, well, what about the Raiders? And people are going to lose confidence, and they make a really big splash for one of the top receivers, or was one of the top receivers in the NFC. So I mean, shit.
yeah, and man, like I said, just big. Just talking about the top receivers. I mean, look, you can't go wrong with getting Devonte Adams, and the Raiders are going to push for those playoffs. I don't know if their defense or offensive line, how limiting or how good it will be, but it didn't stop them last year with a team that I'd say was clearly weaker after that loss of Ruggs, Waller missing games. So, looking forward to a good year. I mean, they have, I'd say, adding Adams back in the fold. You have him, Renfro, Waller, um, good weapons for Carr to throw to. Um, obviously, they extended Max Crosby as well. Great for them, and I believe they actually extended him on the anniversary of him being sober. So good for him. With the anniversary, of course, and getting his deserved payday. Um, so I guess we can go on now. Marcus Williams signed with the Ravens. Good safety pickup for them. They needed one, kind of to fill the hole that after Earl Thomas got released from that incident. It's been a couple of years as well, but could have always used that.
Yeah, and they were trying to hunt down Bobby Wagner.
Yeah, who ended up going to the Rams along with Allen Robinson. And the Rams just continue to stack talent while still being under the salary cap and not having draft picks to worry about either. So good for them. Those cap planners, those financial guys in the Rams, they better be well paid. um,
Yeah, I hope so.
just kind of continuing in the smaller news, the Jets brought in another guard like Tomlinson and have overhauled the tight end room. Bringing the guy from the Vikings, I forget his name, and also C.J. Uzuma from the Bengals. Mitchell Trubisky, the MVP, has signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers to be their starter. Um, However, just want to bring this up. Unfortunately, the Steelers have lost a player of theirs, Dwayne Haskins. Rest in peace. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah,
he was, from what I can tell, he seemed like a great teammate, great guy to be around, brought a lot of energy, wanted to compete, and just unfortunate that he was lost. But he'll always be remembered. Um,
yeah. The such. I mean, it's a shame when any just NFL player dies as soon as his career's still trying to get underway.
yeah,
I mean, you just kind of really hate to see it.
yeah, and
And
also fuck Adam Schefter, like genuinely
oh,
fuck him.
oh yeah. So
Um,
those comments from him were just completely unnecessary, and then it took him a while to apologize. He just has not been the analyst.
yeah. Um.
Anyway,
Anyways, um, in New Orleans, in the fallout from the Watson decision, which I think even if Cleveland didn't make the swoop, it would have been Atlanta. But another fallout, they brought back Jameis Winston to be their starter next year. We're gonna see how that goes. Um, he did have a good upswing in results last season when he was healthy, though. Um, then we go to up to back to the Chargers, and J.C. Jackson has signed for them. Um, Great addition. They needed a corner to improve their defense. They also brought in a nose tackle, Sebastian Joseph Day, which can help with the run stuffing. But good on the Chargers trying to improve and use the cap space they have of the luxury called the rookie quarterback contract, which Justin Herbert's on at the moment. Uh,
yeah. This is, I mean, the entire AFC West. Like I said, it's just like all of them are just all of them. I can see all of them making the playoffs.
yeah,
It's ridiculous.
and in Cincy, they have made some improvements to their offensive line. We talked about bringing in Alex Kappa. They also brought in the released La'el Collins from the Cowboys. A move that shocked me because I felt that if we couldn't get any reasonable trade offer, why should we entertain moving on from him? And we didn't, but it happens, and you live with it. But yeah, and but they brought in Kappa, and they also brought in the center Karras. He's played a lot of guard as well, but they're going to play him at center from New England. And reality now is just here. They have Jonah Williams. They have a good center. They have a good right guard Kappa, a good right tackle Collins. They just need to really shore up that left guard spot, and they have a really and that offensive line turns around quickly. Um, and the Bengals can always improve in different parts of their defense. Maybe get another corner and maybe some growth at the linebacking group to supplement. But lots of improvement. Obviously, the draft is on the horizon, and so it looks like a very open-ended draft. I mean, the last year felt very structured. Felt like we kind of had a very strong idea of what a lot of teams would do. Some surprises and curveballs, but some teams stayed the course. I mean, it was pretty evident. There was going to be quarterbacks going with the top three picks. There was going to be, you know, that it's pretty evident that the the Bengals and the Dolphins would look at some, maybe they look at a receiver, maybe in the Bengals case, we're talking Penny Sewell, but they ended up opting for that receiver, Jamar Chase, which worked. We knew that the Lions would probably take, whoever they felt was the best player, which was Sewell. But this year just feels very open ended. I mean, obviously last year had its shocks, like Sertan and Dallas scrambling and getting Parsons, which was a blessing. Um, but this year it feels like we don't know what's going to happen. But we'll talk more about that later. But
Yeah, I mean, especially you got like I think no, it's about 3 or 4 teams having multiple picks in the first round that they could eat. Like the Giants, I could see them potentially maybe trading one of their picks away.
yeah, like, and that's the big thing. This quarterback class is very weak, and next year's is considered to be very strong. So if you're the Giants, and the Eagles have done this already, the Dolphins have this in the back of their pocket. I wouldn't say they've done it with the idea that it would be done, but probably a thought in their minds now. Of course, other teams are going to try to gun up. I mean, the Lions have the capital. You could see a team like the Giants, trade down. You're thinking there are teams out there that are looking at contingency plans in case for next year if the quarterbacks aren't there. So the trades will be interesting. Who's actually going to move up? Because moving up, it's not exactly the most common thing when your desire isn't that QB. Um, but just very interesting to see what'll happen in uh this upcoming draft. The Jaguars, they're going to be on the clock, and they're going to have a lot of options and a lot of positions to fill. Rumors Aiden Hutchinson, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's really it for the NFL. If there's anything else you kind of want to bring up,
No, we'll do our drafts thing next episode. Uh, have we thought? Are we live streaming it again like last
we
year? Do
could,
we know?
we could, we'll see. Depends
Yeah.
on the schedule, but I mean, there's a couple other things. Obviously, baseball's going on right now. Good few weeks to start. Our teams played each other today. Um, that's always fun. Um, but interesting start in baseball. The Orioles beating the Yankees, that was quite entertaining. Um,
The Yankees can't get past their kryptonite.
and as for the Dodgers, we know we may have lost an opening series in Coors, but we haven't lost a game since then. So good for good for us. We're
Meanwhile, the Braves pitching. What if I can say? Pitching just has not been anywhere.
You could say what happened.
I guess, and Dansby Swanson fell off a cliff, so that's great because he's my
Yeah,
favorite.
there probably was a reason why the Braves were linked with Correa for a little bit, but he hasn't
Yeah,
performed exactly to start the year either. Um,
yeah. We're done with football, I guess. Have you been catching up with hockey,
yeah, sure,
seeing
go
all
ahead.
the yeah. Really, last time what I report, just nothing really big coming out of the Eastern Conference. The Western Conference still has 3 spots up for grab. Really, it's those two wild card or those 2 spots up for grabs, and 3 teams are fighting for them. Potentially 4 with Los Angeles.
Yeah,
Um, Nashville, they've been on an extremely cold streak. Saros has just been like picked the worst times, just not really have the forms, and neither is our backup goalie, which I dare call a goalie. Um, Dallas is catching up to the number 1 spot in the wild card. I
yeah,
think both teams play tomorrow. As of our recording, I think both teams are playing. I don't exactly know. And Vegas, they lost against New Jersey, which is a that was a pretty bad loss. As that's one of their easy, especially like when you look at the rest of their season. That's one of their easier games. I mean, they do have a couple gimmies. I mean, the Sharks game could go in their way, and then Chicago. But I mean, they got in between those games, they've got uh, big playoff contenders, including Dallas. That Dallas game is going
Yeah.
to be huge.
Yeah.
But it really is just I don't know. Well, what was I about to say? I forgot. Um, I think that's it. I think that's all I got for hockey.
Yeah, and the Eastern race is finally closing off. It looks like
Oh, it's completely done.
yeah, it's just
There's
seeding.
fighting for seeding.
Yeah. Islanders fans give up with the false hope.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh well. Well, I mean, too little, too late for the Islanders.
you know
Honestly, I
it's a
mean, you don't
shame because I was looking at my preseason picks. I had them winning the Metro. Okay.
really.
Yeah,
I mean,
honestly, my Metro picks weren't too bad. It's like switch Carolina and the Islanders and they look a lot better. Because I kind of I'd say I did well with my placements of Washington, Pittsburgh, and New York. I think just
yeah.
um but yeah, glad I was not one of the people that kind of bought into what the Flyers did. Uh been a
Wait, people
disaster for
bought
them.
into that. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I
not
pretty
Ristolainen, but
track.
they bought into like Ryan Ellis. So
Oh, yeah.
he's only played 4 games this year. Um how is
I don't think any Flyers move this past year have actually worked
by the
out
way,
in their favor.
how have any of the players you gotten back from done anything for you?
Who for
Like
the
not
Ellis trade?
yeah, or
No.
oh,
So I mean, I mean,
maybe
it's
it was
really
just a
a
pick. I don't know.
everyone. I think no. I think both of them were like what shit. I'm trying to remember because this is back in like June. Um, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Ellis was given up for I think for one guy who was in AHL at that point and
Yeah.
another like I think prospect.
Bro, it's crazy because I was trying to look at like what Ellis was trading for. I looked at Wikipedia. His like junior career is a much bigger page than his professional career.
Oh wow.
Oh, he was traded for Felipe Myers and Nolan Patrick.
Oh yeah.
I don't.
Anyway, I think that's enough for hockey. Do you? I think that's all the sports. Do we have anything else to
Um.
comment on?
Then Nolan Patrick was flipped for Cody Glass, if I remember. Um. Just trying to think. If there's anything that I can get into my head. Um.
I don't think so, unless you really want to talk about the Formula Uno. Uh,
I mean, sure. I can just get into 1 second. I mean, like Red Bull's car is not reliable, and that is really hurting Verstappen in the World Drivers' Championship pursuit. And Charles Leclerc, my favorite driver, he's pretty awesome.
Man, Leclerc. I'm messing with you. Don't. I don't know. I think they go to Italy this weekend.
Yeah, it's fun, and hopefully Leclerc continues that dominance. It's been fun watching him after the last couple years, Ferrari just being nothing, and America's team Haas doing better. Not the best race in Australia, but they're doing better, and I like it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. But if there's anything you want to talk about, or we could just we could call it here.
Yeah. I don't really have anything. I go. I guess the USFL. There's just nothing there. There's not fun. I just don't like watching it. It's
Fair
just
enough.
oh.
All
All
right,
right. We're
that
out of
was
here.
it. This was episode 30. All right. It's great. Great to have to just be on as always. You're with Link. Wish Steven was here, but Hey, he'll be happy to listen to this. So yeah, thanks for listening. I'll see you guys.